March 21st, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. Okay, so first thing on the agenda, we have roll call. Can we have the roll call slide? Okay.
Phil Block.
Carolyn Watson.
Cindy Rogan.
Monica Webster.
Oops.
Kelly Aramaki.
I imagine Director Aris will be here in a minute. I'll let you know when she arrives. Next, we're going to go on to the introduction of the student, who is Phoebe Gu.
All right, let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, we didn't. We have that out of order on the agenda. I'm trying to follow the agenda as written. We had it backwards.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, sorry about the confusion. And now we'll go on to the introduction of the student.
Oh, sorry. Let me turn on your.
That's the thing I think because.
No, she's right.
Thank you.
She's going to
Yeah,
do the land development.
because Administrator John Harrison isn't here, and he's the one who keeps us on track for that. Because we have to introduce the student, then she's supposed to lead us in the pledge and do the land acknowledgement. So we weren't wrong. We're just confused. So thank you. So would you like to do the land acknowledgement?
Yes. We acknowledge that we are on the indigenous land of the Coast Salish peoples who have reserved treaty rights to this land, specifically the Duwamish and Snoqualmie tribes. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial. We reflect on the historic context that brings us to reside on this land and accept responsibility to interrupt erasure. We commit to an ongoing partnership with the Snoqualmie tribe as we listen to, learn from, and lead with their guidance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now it's time for the student update.
Hi.
And so if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself and go ahead with your prepared remarks.
My name is Phoebe Gu, and I'm an 8th grader at Taiyi Middle School. And first, I'd like to thank my counselor, Mr. Johnson, for recommending me for this speaker role and also supporting me throughout middle school. And some things about me are that I love art. I like drawing, painting, and I also took ceramics at Taiyi, and I found out that I actually like working with clay too. And I'm also a figure skater. So as you may know, today was the Bellevue District Choir Festival, and I'm actually still in the choir uniform. But our choir, we took a field trip to Interlake High School, and we got to listen to the other middle schools perform their pieces, and we got to hear many interesting songs. And we also got to perform our pieces, and there were judges that scored us, and they also worked with us and gave us feedback to help us. And well, our favorite part, we got to go to the mall after to have lunch, and yeah, I got to be with my friends from other middle schools, and I really like events like these. They're very memorable and very fun. The past few years I've spent at Taiyi were very great. I love my school in this district. I've gone to many schools in different places, but I love this district the most, and I'm grateful I got to go to Taiyi for middle school. And I mean, I still remember 6th grade really clearly. I had a lot of fun with my friends. And I'm also part of the advanced learning program, and I want to express how much I love it as well. Firstly, the teachers, they're really great, and I'm learning so much from them. And my classmates are awesome too. It's such a supportive community, and I'm beyond grateful for them. And our community at Taiyi is so strong, and I know it'll be really hard when some of us have to separate for high school, but again, I'm so grateful for the people at Taiyi and the experiences I've had here. Thank you for having me, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
for coming and
Sure.
for sharing with us. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we have some acknowledgements, and we'd like to acknowledge that on the 10th of March through the 4th of April, it's Ramadan. The 17th of March was St. Patrick's Day. The 19th of March was Nowruz, the Persian New Year. The 21st of March is World Down Syndrome Day. Oh, that's today. The 23rd of March is Purim. The 24th through the 25th is Holy. The 24th is Palm Sunday. The 29th is Good Friday. And the 31st is Easter. So thank you for that. That's a lot going on. Thanks. All right. Now, what I need, or I will make a motion for the approval of the agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Let me ask all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any oppositions or abstentions? No, thank you. The agenda is set for tonight. Okay, so then we want to look at the consent agenda, and I would like a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, everyone in favor? Oh, is there any discussion? Let me just ask. Okay, with no discussion, everyone in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstaining? No? Okay, great. Now we've got the consent agenda. All right, so now we're on to superintendent updates.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I have about 10 slides, but I promise people that I'm going to go through them relatively quickly. The last board meeting, I was absent because I was sick for the entire week. So whatever that cold that I got really knocked me out, but I've been trying to make it up since then. And so there's just been so many amazing things happening in the district. And so I want to share with the community what some of those things are. On the intro slide, you can see here Governor Inslee signing a bill that supports dual language in the state of Washington. And so you can see there on the left, Chitra Bardwaj is our Director of Multilingual Learners. She was able to attend. We had people come out to Lake Hills to look at our dual language program before the passing of the bill and got to see dual language in action, to see our teachers and to talk with parents about the benefit for Spanish speakers as well as for non-Spanish speakers. And from that, this bill was introduced. And so we're proud of Bellevue's role in the advocacy of dual language in the state of Washington. And this bill that was signed is about dual language, heritage language, and about elevating native languages as well. And so I think we're thrilled because we are not only leading in the area of Spanish dual language and Mandarin dual language, but we have started Arabic, and then we are starting Hindi and Korean in the fall. Next slide. This is my only not like celebratory slide, but I did want to give the community an update real quick on the budget. Even though we didn't get our bills passed that we were hoping for around levy regionalization, I just want to thank our legislators, especially our local legislators, for their hard work. Because of them, we are expecting an additional $2 million annually starting next year. And that's, they're giving us an increase for paraprofessional funding, as well as for material supplies and operating costs. And so that is a good start, and we're thankful to our legislators for that. Next year, we are going to be advocating for fully funding education. And so these are the buckets that we're looking at. We're looking at fully funding special education, fully funding material supplies and operating costs, which includes fuel, utilities, insurance, running start fees. We're asking for fully funding of transportation costs, and then we're going to ask for an increase to levy and LEA funding to keep pace with inflation. Our next budget reduction update will happen on April 18th, so the second board meeting of April, and that is when we will share with the community in general our focus of cuts, which will be on central office efficiencies. We're going to be doing some cutting of MSOCs. We're going to be not filling some of our open positions and reducing redundancies, and so that's kind of the gist of what to expect, and we will announce the specifics of that on April the 18th. Next slide. So just a bunch of things. Since I came back to work, I've been out in the community and celebrating with students and staff, but I spent last Saturday with the robotics kids at the STEAMnasium. But for those people who don't know, we converted the old Puesta del Sol building into a steam-nasium. That is a picture of the field. It's almost a full-size field that we were able to create there. But this summer, we're going to knock down a wall so we can make the field just a little bit bigger. But all of our teams can go there and practice. And we have a competition coming up at Sammamish High School this weekend, which I think you're going to hear a little bit more about during public comment. Next slide. This Saturday also, there was a Bellevue School District BIPOC staff retreat. Director Aris was there. We're thankful for that. But we had a lot of our staff of color come together on this beautiful Saturday, hosted by Bellevue College. And it was a great celebration of the great diversity among staff members here in Bellevue. Next slide. Those are a picture of my shoes, soaking wet. I got to spend some time with preschool students on their very first field trip to Kids Quest Museum. We have this big campaign that has been sponsored by the Bellevue Schools Foundation about bringing joy to preschool and to kindergarten. And I got a little too close to the kids playing at the water table. I was totally drenched, but it was all in the name of joy, and it was wonderful. And I just want to promote our preschool programs because we believe in launching kids education in Bellevue with joy and fun exploration. The kids, I think, love the bus rides the most. And we're thankful to the Bellevue Schools Foundation who made that happen. Next slide. We're still celebrating Lunar New Year. We had a great celebration over at Jingmei Elementary School, 19 performances in an hour and 15 minutes. It was really incredible. So shout out to Jingmei for their Lunar New Year celebration. Next slide. I also want to say that we're celebrating a whole bunch of different cultural celebrations around the celebration of spring. I was at a holy celebration at Ardmore Elementary School, which is where we're starting our Hindi program. And then we've been having Nowruz celebrations, which is the Persian kind of celebration of spring. This was a celebration over at the ESC, but I know that those celebrations are happening all over the district in our schools, and thanks to the PTAs as well. Next slide. This Sunday, a number of the secondary administrators and myself, we attended the Ramadan Interfaith Iftar, which was held at MAPS over in Redmond. And it was a great coming together of people of all different faiths to talk about peace and to talk about building unity despite our differences. And the guest speaker shared, the quote was something like this, but this idea was, let's learn from the best of each other's cultures and religious practices. And so I just love that idea of bringing together people of all different diverse backgrounds towards a common good. Next slide. Yesterday, we had a environmental sustainability committee meeting, and I just want to shout out, these are all student leaders except for the guy in the top left, which you might recognize, Director Block. But all of the rest of them are student leaders. And so we have students who are leading our efforts to bring environmental sustainability to our district. And so the school board passed a policy on environmental sustainability last year, and the kids are the ones who are making it happen. And so we're really proud of the work that they're doing to lead us. And we're excited to be able to show the district kind of what their plans are. They have ambitious goals for us over the next 5 to 10 years. Some of it has to do with eating less meat, which, I mean, we'll see if that makes it, but they're really talking about all these really important things that will protect our environment. Next slide. And this is my last slide, I think. And I'll just say, this is Music Education Month, and Bellevue has remarkable music programs. Today, I spent 3 hours at Sammamish High School listening to all of the middle school orchestras perform, and it was the most inspiring thing. I mean, I would close my eyes and feel like I'm sitting in Benaroya Hall listening. I mean, even the tuning of the instruments sounded so beautiful. And so there's some pictures of our orchestras. A few days ago, I was able to listen to our band concert, the Tillicum Band Concert, and just the growth from 5th grade to 6th grade to 7th grade, all the way to the Sammamish High School Marching Band is remarkable. I mean, our teachers are doing amazing things, and our kids are working so hard. Again, the top picture on the right is a picture of a professional musician who was adjudicating this morning, but then after the performance going in and giving kids kind of professional coaching advice on how to improve. And all of that is made possible, again, by the Bellevue Schools Foundation, who funds all of these guest artists to come in and work with our kids. And then that top center picture is a picture of a choir concert, but our Phoebe talked about being part of the choir. But we're just so proud of the choirs and the music that's happening. I think the Tillicum choir is over in New York right now performing. And so Bellevue has incredible music education, and we're very, very proud of that. It does say on that slide, if you can't read it, follow me on Instagram. My handle is Kelly Aramaki. But I just say that because I tried to put up some videos of some of the music performances and was having a little bit of problem with that. But if you want to see some of the performances, I try to post them online, either my Instagram or the school district's Instagram, where you can see the videos. But quite incredible. There's so much for us to be proud of. So with that, that is the end of the superintendent comments.
Okay, thank you. So moving on, it's now time for public comment. And we're going to have the guidelines that come up on a slide. And then I try to sort of paraphrase them. But basically, we ask that we stick to a standard of civility that we impose on ourselves. And so we're not going to have anybody make libelous or slanderous comments or invade anybody's privacy or do anything, say anything obscene or indecent or violate school district policy or procedure. No harassment, intimidation, bullying, or discrimination in the comments, and no inciting of an unlawful act or creating a material and substantial disruption. And the rest of the context is all there. And with that said, we're going to invite our first person, who is Juliet Booter.
And then Juliet, if you could just turn on the microphone. And then for all of the speakers, you'll see your names listed. And so just be ready to come on up. And then there is a little thing on the side if you want to adjust the height of the thing.
Great. Okay. I'm going to stand to the side because for my public comment, I'm going to do an activity rather than talk to you about the Bellevue Schools Foundation. And thank you, Dr. Aramaki, for those references. Much of what our educators and leadership and students appreciate is what the foundation provides, because we are adding on top of the funding that we receive from federal and state budgets. So right now, there's a way for us all to get more funding for the school district, which is even more important right now as we face a budget shortfall. So if you could please go on to your device, whether it's a computer or phone, and invite 5 people to join you at Spring for Schools in 9 days, your job is done. In 9 days, we will inspire those people to give to the foundation, which in turn will allow us to give generously to the district. So we have an opportunity with 96% of the community who's not giving to do so much more. This was all made possible, what Kelly, Dr. Akamaki shared in the last 2 weeks with just 3% of the community giving. Imagine what we can do if we got 25% of the community to give, or 50%. So you all care about our students and our educators. You are great message makers. So please help us spread the word. There's also an email you can forward on at around 10:57 that we sent you. Hopefully it's starred. And we look forward to seeing you at Spring for Schools.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next we have Anne Marie Clark.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie Clark. I am one of the advocacy mentors for the Robototes 2412 from Sammamish. And this weekend, Sammamish is hosting a robotics competition, and all the teams from the Bellevue School District will be there and competing, and it's loads of fun, even if they weren't, but they are, so you got to come. And opening ceremonies are the 11 o'clock on Saturday morning, and then the next kind of big thing is the awards on Sunday afternoon at around 3:30 to 4 will be awards. So come see the pits, see the teams, talk to everybody. let us know you're coming and we'll have somebody tour you around and show you stuff. And the robot kids have been doing a lot of stuff. We've been partnering with the PTA more. We had 2 people go to the National PTA conference and present, and were very well received, of course, because the PTA is very impressed with the robotics and working on partnering with PTAs around the country to advance with the FLL, which is Lego robots for elementary school teachers. It is school students a very inspiring program for STEM education, very well proven to engage young children in STEM activities. And they're working on partnering with the PTA for that. And they have lots of other good stuff to tell you about. And I think they're up next.
Okay. Thank you. Next we have Ian Chen. And who? Oh, they updated it. Okay, it's Ian Chen and Peri Raval. I didn't have both of your names earlier.
Hello, esteemed members of the board. My name is Ian Chen. I'm currently a freshman at Sammamish High School on FRC Robotics Team 2412, the Robototes. I work with the outreach and advocacy sub-teams for this team.
My name is Puri Raval. I'm a sophomore and I will be accompanying Ian. I also contribute to the same sub-teams.
We're here today to thank you all on behalf of the advocacy team for approving our trip to SASA at DC. We've sent some of our students in recent years to this conference, and our team has gauged that the information and all of this benefit that's bringing to our team is extremely valuable. SASA stands for Student Association for STEM Advocacy, and they host a conference in DC every single year, hence our trip. This conference spans 3 days, and 2 days are packed with lots of workshops and lessons for our students to grow in advocating at the federal level. On the last day, students are given a very rare opportunity to showcase what they're learning about, to meet with actual state level and national level politicians in DC.
Now, our advocacy sub-team hopes to make this at least an annual or biannual trip to ensure that all students with the talent and passion for advocacy are able to nurture their skills and grow them through SASA conference. As student advocates, we are aware of some of the gaps in our education system, particularly regarding some of the STEM activities and enrichment activities, and it's our job to bring such issues to light. With the application of the advocacy skills that we will develop throughout this conference, we can address these, and this will impact not only our own team, but it will impact students, state, and nationwide. An example being our law C407L23 that was created and eventually passed due to our advocacy team. This ensured funding, security, and CTE credit for competitive STEM activities, impacting our STEM students statewide. The advocacy team greatly thanks you for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Gahin Kim.
Hello, my name is Gaheen and I'm currently a student at Interlake High School, and I'm also an intern at the nonprofit Period, which works to end period stigma and period poverty. So every month, students who menstruate need sanitary products like pads and tampons to maintain their reproductive health. However, 53% of teens say they never or rarely see free period products in school bathrooms, and this is concerning as low-income students or students who are suddenly surprised by their period during school are often faced with empty dispensers in their bathrooms, and this causes them to feel unnecessary stress or panic or even miss valuable class time as they're searching for a pad or tampon. To solve this issue, students across Washington advocated for House Bill 1273, which requires school districts to provide free menstrual products in school bathrooms for schools grades 6 to 12 and in designated areas for schools grade 3 to 5. Fortunately, this bill was passed in 2021, and this requirement became Washington law. Despite the law, I've noticed, as well as my peers, that in our high schools, that there are empty dispensers void of pads and tampons, thus coming to believe that Bellevue School District schools are not in compliance. To ensure every student receives a high-quality education and never has to miss a day of school because they're on their period, I hope to see the board adopt a policy on providing menstrual products in school bathrooms and hopefully see these products readily available in our schools. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we have Ilan Lance.
Thank you. Members of the board, since the attacks and atrocities conducted on October 7th, 2023 in Israel, there have been 3 walkouts and protests for Palestine and over a dozen incidents across 8 schools featuring blatant anti-Semitic and anti-Israel rhetoric. Apparently, the district's policies and procedures depend on context. On December 14th, I witnessed the protest for Palestine at Sammamish High School, and it left me in a state of shock for the days to follow. The crowd chanted the phrases Intifada, Intifada, long live the Intifada, and also resistance is justified when people are occupied. These phrases were repeated throughout the protest, uninterrupted, despite the presence of district officials. Let me ask you, do calls for the genocide of Jews violate the district's harassment, intimidation, and bullying policies and procedures, or do they apply only when turned into conduct? A vice principal in the district publicly posted that he would refute the federal recognized definition of anti-Semitism. He will not comply with the Title VI as it relates to Jewish students. Is that a perspective you would tolerate? Stop hiding behind legal language and ignorance. Celebrating and promoting the murder of Jews or any other identified group of humans is not a political debate. It cannot be tolerated and must stop. You are responsible for your students' civil rights. You will be held accountable. Your actions and inaction would and have been violating them. Do your job. Educate your students. Educate yourself, your staff through vetted, known, and reputable sources. Keep politics and indoctrination efforts outside of our schools. Foster humanity. Foster good morals. Start with Sammamish High School. Thank you. Am Yisrael Chai.
Okay, next we have Alex Zimmerman.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Alex Zimmerman, and I speak with you for 2 years about rules what is you have right now. To me, these rules look like you have something belong to Democrat Nazi junta, you know what is mean, fascist junta. But it's what make me sick totally. So for almost 2 years, I come to here every meeting, you know what it mean, and look what has happened. 20,000 children, 40,000 parents don't know about the U.S. Constitution. Why you teach babies in school? They don't know Constitution, Fair Amendment, freedom of speech. America only one country in this planet who have free speech official in Constitution. You don't know about this? You teach them? Where is they? When they age, you know what it mean? I fighting against Nazi, fascist, Soviet Union, communist. Yeah. Because I'm not stupid. You make from them a concentration camp. 20,000 children, no one come here. 40,000 parents, no one talking about Constitution. Are you teaching children about Constitution? I don't think so. Why? Because you by definition are Nazi fascist. This is exactly who you are. Where is this rule come? I ask you this question for many times. Nobody give me answer. Who give me answer? You, ma'am, give me answer. Where is comes this 10? People, 20 minutes, huh? Where is? Where? You see what has happened? Guys, you are real Nazi fascist. And this make from school a concentration camp. And 4,000 parents never ask you about this. It's a nightmare. Guys, what's happened? Huh? I live here for 40 years. What is you did with America? You bring America to same level what as Hitler did in German Nazi in Tory. You exactly identical Nazi. This exactly. I right now speak to everybody. Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have Melinda Elian. She's online, I believe.
Hi, Melinda. I'm going to unmute your mic and allow your camera. Okay, it's all yours. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks for letting me speak today. My name is Melinda Ilian, and I am here today as a parent and Bellevue Schools Foundation trustee and the Foundation's Grant Committee co-chair. This year, the Grants Committee had the pleasure of distributing almost $1 million to various programs, big and small, that impacted the education and well-being of every student and staff member in the district. Today, I just wanted to highlight a few of the items we funded that will not be at our Spring for Schools showcase on Saturday. Before the start of the school year this year, and planned again for next year, the foundation has partnered with the district staff to sponsor the end of summer kickoff event for staff, starting the school year off with a joyful, community-filled event that spilled over into the happiness and joy experienced by our students at the beginning of the year. This program is one of many programs that the foundation funds specifically to support the professional development and well-being of our teachers and staff, as we know they profoundly impact student learning. Another grant I'd like to highlight is the foundation sponsorship of the STEAMnasium, as we've heard about. It's currently actively being used by our robotics teams to prepare for Sammamish this weekend. The foundation has been a longtime sponsor of all of our robotics teams for the innovative and equitable learning opportunities they provide to our students. The STEAMnasium is an opportunity to deepen our support of the educational and fun opportunities that students uniquely have access to in Bellevue. And finally, as you may have seen, Governor Inslee signed House Bill 1956 this week to ensure that fentanyl awareness is taught in all schools in Washington. But because of a surge funding available from the foundation over the summer, BSD already has this life-saving education in place, demonstrating once again the critical role the foundation plays in ensuring Bellevue School District is truly a leader in having programs that care for the well-being of our students. I look forward to welcoming you all at Spring for Schools on Saturday in 2 weeks to learn more about the other programs we sponsor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't believe we have other commenters, so that concludes everybody who signed up in advance for that. And so next we're going to go on to the reports, and the report that we have tonight is our annual plan report on the goal of being future ready, which is part of our overall goal of educational excellence. So I will let the presenters take it away.
Thank you, President Watson, board directors, and Dr. Armaki. We're so pleased to share with you the Future Ready report as part of the annual plan progress monitoring. And when you think about it, the Future Ready goal is an ultimate goal and outcome for our students. And in previous years, if you recall, the goal was primarily monitored with on-time graduation rates, which is certainly important and something we should continue to monitor, particularly when we disaggregate our data and notice that we have persistent disproportionality. With the conclusion of the previous strategic plan, last spring, our 5-year plan expired. We created a Bridge annual plan, and the Bridge annual plan this year includes this Future Ready goal that we've renamed from Graduation Success, which includes college and career readiness measures, and you'll see some impressive data points with those. At the same time, similar to graduation rates, there is deeper concern about persistent gaps that you'll hear about today in our report. As you know, in the process of developing the next strategic plan, which gives an opportunity to elevate other indicators that define student success, the new strategic plan, a couple of you are on the coalition, so you're well aware of this, but is built on a different set of data with information coming directly from students, staff, and families on how their personal experiences have been, whether they've been great or not great. That's how we built this new strategic plan, or how we're in the process of that. At the last board meeting, you engaged with problem statement and root causes that emerged from empathy interviews. It's now our collective challenge and opportunity to keep those statements in mind as we consider what we might want to measure and elevate over the next 5 years as indicators that students are future ready. What might you see in their portfolio in addition to their transcript? How might their experiences and accomplishments be measured? So moving from our previous focus mostly on graduation rates to this year with a bridge plan that includes college and career data with the new addition of the seal of biliteracy, we have this opportunity to really think about that. The seal of biliteracy is something we have not shared before, and it's truly a future-ready accomplishment, which aligns well with our value of bilingualism for all. So I'm really pleased for you to engage in this Future Ready report, and I'd like to introduce Executive Director Sharon Couts to present the Future Ready report.
Hello, thanks, Eva. So the purpose of this report is to update you on mid-year progress on our Future Ready goal in the annual plan. Based on the pre-meeting that we had on Monday, many of your questions were focused on how we are increasing equitable access to Future Ready opportunities. So the presentation today will be providing you with some examples of that. Next slide, please. I think it's, there you go. So before we dig into the examples, I want to share a few key highlights from the report. We have a lot to celebrate with these programs, with the highest pass rate ever on our AP exams. Our students in automotive tech and culinary arts had a 100% pass rate on the certification exams. Our students have earned the highest number of seals of biliteracy in the state of Washington, and we have twice the enrollment in college and the high school courses this year as compared to last year. And these are really great celebrations. However, as you also saw on the report, there are still disproportionality gaps in the data, and I'll be sharing with you how we are addressing some of those gaps, and you'll also hear from Dr. Vic Anderson, the Bellevue High School principal, about how he and his team are addressing those gaps. Next slide, please. So from our pre-meeting on Monday, I pulled together some of the themes from your questions that I'd like to answer today. Some of the questions that do not get answered that you asked on Monday, I'll be including those in an upcoming Friday board update along with some updated data. I was able to get some of the data on the AP exams by subject area and some of the gender data, so you'll see that coming up. Next slide, please. So through professional development opportunities, our CTE teachers are implementing instructional strategies that support learning for multilingual learners and students receiving special education services, and are preparing them for the upcoming certification exams. Some of the strategies they're using are visual resources, digital assistive technology, providing choice, and different ways to show their learning. We have an upcoming learning experience in April with our CTE educators that will be focusing on universal design for learning and other strategies that support multilingual learners and students receiving special education. Next slide, please. So one of the questions was about what is the seal of biliteracy? And this was established in 2014 with the intent to recognize public high school graduates who obtain proficiency in English and in one or more world language. The students show proficiency in English by passing all 4 high school credits of English. And the way they show proficiency in the world language is through the World Language Competency Credit Test. Or they score a 3 or higher on a world language AP exam, or a 4 or higher on a world language IB exam. And I think the bigger question that I was hearing on Monday was like, but what does it mean to earn the seal of biliteracy? What are the benefits? And many of our students include it on their college applications and on their resumes. I think the biggest example of the seal of biliteracy is it's a way to elevate and honor our students' families, languages, and culture by offering a way for them to show competency and earn up to 4 high school credits without requiring them to enroll in years of world language courses. So many of our students do complete our world language courses and they take the exam and they do quite well. But what's exciting about the exam is, first of all, it does not require English knowledge. So our newcomers that come to the country speaking a language other than English can immediately enroll for the exam and jumpstart their high school transcript with 4 high school credits. So for example, we just recently had a new student to our district and they were taking the Ukrainian test and they finished quickly and asked if they could stay and take the Russian test. And then they did, and they earned 8 credits and 2 seals of biliteracy. Isn't that awesome? So it's critical for us to really be coordinating our efforts with the school's newcomer navigators, the multilingual learner facilitators, the counselors, to inform and support newcomers in accessing this competency test. We're expanding testing sites and times that make it more convenient for our students, and we're continually working to improve our systems to support students. And now I'm going to turn it over to Vic Anderson, and he'll be sharing with you how his teams have been addressing some of the gaps on the AP data. I don't think that's on. Is it on? Here, you can use this one.
Oh, wait, I got it. Check. Can you hear me now? Is that better? Well, good afternoon, school board directors, Dr. Aramaki. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's truly an honor to be able to serve as principal of Bellevue High School. I've been at Bellevue for 8 years, and the AP program has always been strong and just incredibly important to all of our community. Each year, we offer roughly 37 different AP course offerings, and we administer approximately 2,000 AP tests each May. Next slide. Some of our work this year is really taking a deep look at who is taking the AP courses, and so we're looking at the disproportionality based on race, not only of who is in these AP courses, but also in particular the kids that are signing up in March and then dropping in early September. And you know, kids are registering right now, and a lot of kids, they have lofty goals, and AP is very much synonymous with getting into college and being successful. So we look at the enrollment, but we're also thinking about those kids who are dropping and wondering why. So next slide. Here's just a snapshot of last year's data, and you can see our demographic breakdown, the full enrollment on the left, and then numbers of kids and percentages of each group who are taking AP courses. And this work today and this year, we're really focusing on our Black, African American, and Hispanic and Latino students. You know, and granted, there's disproportionality in other areas too. I think if we can dive into this, everyone benefits. Next slide. This next slide shows the different racial groups and those numbers who enrolled, and then their percentage of students who dropped. And it typically happens in the first 2-3 weeks of September. And we've been aware of this for several years, and we literally have to plan for it. But what we're looking at more closely and really asking the hard questions around today and this year is around the disproportionality. Next slide. And to understand this issue better, we're collecting street data. And so we're interviewing and holding focus groups with our AP teachers. And I'm going to talk more about that. And then we're going to be doing the same for our students of color, particularly those enrolled in AP courses and those who are not taking AP courses, just to kind of get an understanding of what their perspectives are and what they're thinking as they navigate our system. Next slide. The following are a sample of focus group questions for staff who teach AP. And we interviewed and conducted focus groups that included about 12 AP teachers. They have a lot to say. These are just a sample of the questions that we asked. Why do we think kids are enrolling? What are some of the gaps and conflicts that students are facing? Why do we think kids are dropping? And what are some of the barriers and so forth? Next slide. This is just a few of the themes that we see when we're talking with our AP teachers. Our teachers are committed to helping every student succeed and teaching the students in front of them. They practice differentiated instruction and more flexibility about how we work with students, we accept their work, and allow them to express their learning in different ways. With the AP content and coursework in particular, it's very demanding. And these are nationally approved syllabi, and they've got to get through the curriculum. And so there's tension around getting through the curriculum, knowing that part of our charge is making sure kids are prepared for the test in May, and having the flexibility to adjust and flex with student needs. I'm not going to read all of these to you. I know some essential themes, though, too, have to do with the notion of what it takes to be prepared. Parents ask me every year, what do my kids need to do to be prepared for AP? Some kids take multiple APs every semester. Some take just a few, some take none. But they take a look at it and they really see it as the big bargaining chip for helping them get into the college of their choice. Next slide. As we get into this, it raises more questions. And what does it mean for AP for all? You know, we're looking at equitable access and not just removing the barriers, but making sure that we have the culture in all of our classrooms, in particular in our AP classes, where kids feel like they can be successful and kids feel like they belong there. And so we're trying to really dive in and ask ourselves the harder questions. So why do we continue to see the inequity and the disproportionality and who shows up and who stays? We want to take a deeper look on about what we see are those kind of fundamental skills and knowledge that kids need to be successful. And we want to challenge the notion that kids have to have certain prerequisite skills or be at a certain place before they can come into those classes. Long ago, we removed the barriers and the entry exams or anything of that nature. But there, again, I guess it comes back to that tension between moving at a very brisk pace and knowing that in every class, kids come in with kind of a continuum of readiness and preparedness. And so we've got to teach all kids, even in the most demanding classes, and be flexible enough to meet student needs. I think another thing in that last point on this slide, you know, a lot of times as we're getting kids ready, we're thinking about preparing them for college. And so sometimes I see some folks trying to emulate what they think kids are going to experience in college. And we need to do that in terms of exposing kids to the rigor and the challenge, but we're still in high school. So we need to continue, you know, to give them the kind of supports and give ourselves, you know, the freedom and flexibility to do so. Next slide. Some next steps. We've completed all of the staff interviews and focus groups that we're going to do, and now we're going to do the same thing with students in particular. You know, our students of color, those who are in AP classes, those who signed up and then dropped AP classes, and those who are not taking AP classes, as well as our counselors. Next slide. This next slide I title Emerging Goals, because we're still learning. And we've got a lot of more detailed information to gather from our students. But one of the emerging goals is to come back and really frame for our staff of what does it mean, AP for all, and what does equitable access mean when we're talking about these courses where we're seeing a real uneven enrollment and success rate and retention. The messaging is key, because some kids are incredibly confident, and I see kids and families frequently who will take 5 APs classes in a semester they're in leadership, they're in a sport, they're volunteering, they're having fun. Personally, I don't know how they do all that. That does not describe my high school experience. The fun, yes. A few other things, and so there's a constant comparing and feeling like I've got to do the same thing to be successful or to be competitive at those elite schools. But the core issue here is about making sure that everybody has access, feels like they can be successful where they want to achieve and where they want to be, and they feel like they belong there. And I won't read every single one of these to you, but these are emerging goals, and kind of the second half of our work is really to dive in and listen to our students. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beck. I really appreciate the work that you and your team are doing, because this is really a complex problem, and it is going to take getting that street data to figure out what the next steps are. So thank you for doing that. I think I'm turning it back to you, Dr. Armaki.
Okay, before we turn it over to President Watson and the board for some feedback, just a couple things I just want to end by saying. On Monday, we collected a lot of board input about the types of data we want to collect and how we want to report out on this, and then what the strategies need to be. And I think what we can see is some of the challenges are systemic for sure, and then some of them are specific to schools. And so this gives us a good glimpse of the connection between the strategic plan, the annual plan, and then the school improvement plans, because what we set as a board together is what the schools then work to accomplish. And so Bellevue High School is working specifically on equitable access to AP, but that's because we, as a board and superintendent team, set this kind of annual plan around future readiness and looking at equitable access. And so I just say that because as we think about the next strategic plan, it's important for us to know that we set these big goals and then they work on that. The schools work on it. And then I think the other thing I just want to mention is, Dr. Anderson, thank you for the presentation. And I just want to call out, I think that slide of your kind of the next steps, those resonate with me in general, because there's things that schools need to do individually to address inequities in access to AP, IB, and the different kind of music, everything that we offer to kids. But there are some things that are very systemic. And so you talked about needing an updated vision for what AP for All means, consistent messaging, reframing kind of the concept of readiness for AP, and then developing support systems to support kids in AP. And I think those feel very systemic and important for us to tackle. So thank you for presenting that. With that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to President Watson to kind of facilitate the board feedback.
Okay. As we discovered on Monday, this is kind of a big report that falls into 4 different categories. So I think I'm going to propose to go around 4 times again, if that's okay with everybody. And I'm going to start first with if each person could just limit themselves. I don't know if we're going to do the timer 4 times. I mean, but if we just to have your major point or concern or whatever you want to say about AP, and then we'll go around again and do the industry recognized certification and so on. So I'm going to roll my dice, or die as it were, and it came up 6, which is, wild card or Dr. Aramaki. So we'll roll again. 4, which leads us to Director Webster on the topic of AP-IB.
Thank you, President Watson, and I just want to thank you for your excellent presentation. I know that there were a lot of questions on Monday that we had, and I know I had a ton, and I just appreciate the thoughtfulness that you all have put into giving us responses and presenting today. So I still have a few things. I was just trying to decide what the main point that I'd like to kind of share would be. Oh my goodness. So I guess I'll just talk a little bit about the communication under the advanced placement on page, I don't know if we're going to be looking at this, but on page 2 of the document that you all sent to us, it talks about addressing and refining the support structures and expanding accessibility and strengthening the communication with students and families for those populations of kids who we've identified as having or experiencing disparities in passing the exam. And a comment I want to just make is I'd just like to know what this actually, what the communication plan will actually look like in practice and how the strategy is different than what we have done, what we're currently doing or have done in the past. Yeah, so I'll just stop there. So many, but thank you.
Okay. Director Aris, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just thought you'd know. Okay.
No worries. Thank you for trying to address some of our questions. I have a couple of questions based upon your presentation today. Your further inquiry and timeline for goals, and what is your intent as far as the length of time that it'll take you to go through the inquiries and determine the goals and executing and figuring out the solutions or the hows to address that gap? And also, you know, this seems to me maybe very basic question, but I think there is an understanding amongst us that we understand what AP and IB is. I'm curious to know if we're doing our job of clarifying what AP and IB is to our students and our community at large. What is the intent behind it? What is the benefit of it? I'm looking at both of the documents and nowhere does it really clearly state that. And so I'm wondering if we have it anywhere that states to our community and our students, if you take this, this is what the benefit is. This is what is designed to do, how they look at it. So I'm curious to know whether we have that anywhere. And well, I'll hold off there. I'm trying to save time here.
Okay, thank you. So next we have Phil.
Thank you. I have so much to say on AP. With a high school junior myself, I am living that life right now. He's taking 4 AP classes, and his 5th academic class is beyond the AP. He took it last year, so he's one of those students that Dr. Anderson mentioned. And it was really, you know, I want to give a brief celebration. It was really exciting last year as they took some of their AP classes to see study groups come together that transcended individual campuses, and that all the different students in the whole district were coming together to study and make sure that they were getting to that. One of the things that was apparent to me as they started to encounter this, and I have family in the Midwest and East, and I went to high school on the East Coast myself, is that our students have a more compressed schedule as they approach the AP classes than East Coast and Midwest students. We have a national schedule for AP testing, and we start our classes sometimes 2 or 3 weeks later than them. And that may have some effect, that we are being forced, those AP teachers are being forced to compress that curriculum by a couple of weeks. And I know that's in particular a challenge in some of the history classes where it just seems like there's always more to learn. You never run out of content in those classes.
Yeah.
I think that those are some of the big things. I did really appreciate seeing a lot of the information and seeing the efforts that we're taking to improve this. I really did appreciate the enrolled versus dropped. I think that can be continued to the people who take the class and whether or not they choose to take the test. And then the final one is obviously taking the test and whether they achieve a satisfactory score or an unsatisfactory score on the test. So seeing that full lineage of analysis, I think would be informative and help inform some of those decisions.
Okay. So now it rolls to me, and you know, I love AP. So I have a lot to say, so I think I won't say it all, but I think is that funny? I do. I've made like a little study of it and gone to the AP Institute 3 years. And what I know is that, let me just say, for the kids, there is definitely that tension between how do you kind of slow it down to get those kids who are just coming in to access the material, and yet you've got to cover everything that's on that curriculum framework, or the rest of your kids aren't going to pass the exam because you didn't go over the last couple of units that were going to be tested on. So you're kind of stuck there. What I did learn at one of the AP Institutes is one of the master's teachers, who's right here in this district, has all these techniques for like AP history when you can't do the reading, and how he gets kids participating in some of the learning exercises in class so they actually have a way to get the material. So there are things like that. And there's a lot of things that I think a lot of the parents know to do that some parents may need help with, in the sense that I've seen literally a review book being sold at the front desk of the school, sold for money, which, you know, so my point is, what can we do to support the kids that are struggling with this? How can we make sure all the teachers are up to speed on those techniques, which I can tell you from attending the Institute, the new teachers don't necessarily have them. The veteran teachers may, but it takes like a lot of extra effort to make that class less time consuming for the kid. And it's really tempting when you're behind in preparing to just download something you can find in a teacher's group on the internet and have this enormous assignment. So it takes a lot of effort. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, how can we support families to be able to know how to get a study guide in their hand, to be able to access the outline, to be able to get some released questions, to at least have the ability to study at home? And how can we get the teachers who are teaching, especially the new ones, through the training that's going to make them be able to focus on making it less work for the kids instead of more work for the kids? And I think that might be the secret to it, breaking it down, because I think it can be done. I think we've seen it done, but it's hard. I guess that's enough there. I will pass it to Director Rogan.
Thank you so much for all of this information. There's something about the story from the field, you know, from the school. It's great to get the data. It was great to have that report on Monday. And Sharon, thank you for being so thorough in responding to all those questions. It brought it to life. But Dr. Anderson, I think you brought the heart to this, and I really appreciate it. It's hard to hear that there's so much fear for the kids that are in the gap, you know, fear of the workload, fear of amount of time. And it just felt like such a mindset that so many of our kids are holding on to. So I really just want to acknowledge and appreciate that you're developing systems of recruitment and support. I had a question about some of the focus group survey data you were pulling together. It sounded like it was kind of the teacher insight, the student insight. It felt kind of two-way, just between teachers and students. And I was curious if there's anything going on with peer-to-peer support, peer-to-peer coaching or mentoring that might help alleviate some of that fear with some doses of reality or relevance that might help spur on some of those kids that need that support. So again, just thank you for the insight. It really did paint a full picture. And I could go on and on, but I know we've got 3/4 of the report left to go. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so Monica went first on that. So now we're going on. I had to make a chart because I keep losing track of who's next. So now we're going on to the RRC report, industry recognized certification. And Jane will be the first person to comment on that.
I don't have any right now. Thank you.
Okay. So she's Director 5, so then we roll to Director 1.
So I think one of the comments that I had last week was I'd seen previous stuff on the gender breakdown between these and understanding whether there continue to be gender barriers and how to break those down to ensure that students are being able to pursue the industry recognized certifications of choice. And that's, obviously there's some opportunities there, I think, to encourage students to maybe enter non-traditional fields and gain certifications. The other question that I think came up, which is making sure that we're providing our students with certifications that the employers value. Some of these may be the things where we've either found a good or an available certification or test, but it's always important to make sure that these are current and keep doing the kind of employer surveys to understand if these are the skills or the metrics that they value in bringing the students into the workforce. Thank you.
Okay, so for me on this topic, I have, well, two concerns, but the biggest one is still, I'm just going to reemphasize it's probably coming, but the gender breakdowns, because I'm still remembering the time I walked into Cisco Systems and looked around the room and, tried to sort of hunt and peck for the girls in the class. And then, auto shop, I think I saw a little more the time I went, more diversity in that gender sense. And then my other question about it is on some of the charts, I did ask a question about were those industry certifications, like which ones were they? And then it's on here. And I am a little concerned that the big 100% pass rate on culinary arts does include the food handler's permit. What? Or, right. But that kind of inflates the figure because my understanding from friends who have done it is that's like a morning's work. So anyway, there's that. Let me pass it to Director Rogan.
I was just a little curious about how we compare to our surrounding districts. Not that I'm competitive or anything, but just a little curious because I always have the sense that we're blowing it out of the water, like we tend to do in Bellevue. So I was just curious how we compare. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll just raise a point that I had on Monday that I didn't hear presented today. And that was around kind of the statistics that revolve around African-American or Black students who graduate pursuing additional educational opportunities in trades. And looking at our numbers, it doesn't quite line up. And I'm just wondering how the district plans to specifically develop more opportunities to promote and support students who are interested in pursuing CTE through to completion who are actually interested in that pathway. So that's the question that I have. Thank you.
Okay, and then let's see. We started with Jane, so now we're going to go on to college and the high school, and we're going to start with Director Block.
I love that I can start this one.
All right.
Because this is, my big issue is, let's celebrate first. There's been a huge growth in participation in this. I think that we can all recognize that reducing the financial barriers to participating has been a big part of that. I think that again, as the parent of high school student, I think that there's some confusion about the number of different paths to gaining credits right now, and understanding how those play out as they move to college. With college and the high school, AP, the ability to get to dual enroll in both AP and college and the high school, and then running START, and understanding kind of what are the relative pros and cons of these different programs is kind of confounding, and they're new to a lot of parents and families at this point. And also, what guidance are we giving students related to these, and how consistently, as we discussed, I think on Monday, how consistently are these credits being applied by the colleges or universities? Are they able to get the recognition that they think that they're getting? I think we had some discussion about the possibility that some of these credits end up being kind of empty general education credits that can't be used in majors sometimes. And just understanding that and providing either support for our students as they go to university so that they can get those credits, or clear communication back to our students about what they can expect from those. The other thing that I'm going to kind of shoehorn into this is that I do continue to wonder about the Running Start students. I don't know where, I want to make sure that they don't get lost. And this feels like one of the areas where there could be reporting on Running Start. Since I'm newer here, I don't know if there's some other report where they may be captured, but it seems like an opportunity to have some reporting on Running Start as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I think some of what I'm thinking is similar. I think it's really great if you're going in state, and it's really great. I mean, I'm glad that they removed the financial barriers, because you used to be in a position of paying for the credits and then finding out if you paid that they didn't go for your college that you were going to go to. I think would be important to sort of let students know that they may not be as useful for out-of-state colleges, because in that case, AP can be more useful, because at least the colleges know that it's a national standard, so they know what the standard is, whereas the credits from our local colleges may or may not transfer across state lines so easily and wind up being those gen ed credits instead of what you thought they were. So I think, yeah, just maybe warning people, you may not get the credits, but I suppose maybe it's just about setting the proper. Cindy.
Thank you. A lot to celebrate. I just want to acknowledge that again. The only question I had was, it sounded like you were all kind of spinning on that amount of confusion that students and families had regarding the different processes for admissions and registration and the teacher protocols. And it sounds like it was or is an existing and persistent niggling barrier, that the confusion is just there for probably our families who are in the gap. And it made me think of, again, the Bellevue High School story about all of those opportunities for street data to explore what might help ease up that confusion. That's it. Thanks.
My son actually took advantage of AP courses here, and I believe it was earlier this year, he on his own wrote a letter to the board just thanking the district for that, because he doesn't have to take any math in college at all. So he's very excited about that. But he's very self-driven and very self-motivated, and so he actually researched it on his own and took advantage of the benefits. But I'm just wondering, for those students who aren't as aware of, that opportunity, kind of, especially those who we have seen, based in the reflections and challenges section, who aren't accessing the opportunities, kind of what strategies are in place? What do we have in place to kind of promote the benefits of accessing this benefit? Thank you.
All right. So first of all, I just want to celebrate our amazing programs, APIB, college readiness, all of the above, the CTE. I have 3 kids who went through all of these programs, and they've been wonderful. I am thankful that you guys are constantly improving the fluidity and also the opportunity to get that college credits while they're still in high school, not necessarily doing Running Start. I know my daughter took advantage of, I think, AP, CTE, and Running Start. And believe it or not, I actually would say that Running Start college credits do transfer out of state. In fact, when my son applied to multiple schools out of state, a majority, if not all, were accepted. So including—
They may not.
Well, Carnegie Mellon did.
Yeah.
So,
but not Cornell. I'm sorry, but not.
So I would say what I've learned is that there's got to be some clarity in providing to the universities. And so if we could help our students figure out what do the university needs to get those credits considered is, I think, important, because unless they see, like, say, the transcript plus the description of what's included in the coursework, sent to them, I found that universities do take them. And so in addition, I think 2 of my children who did Running Start, they were able to get credits for AP at Bellevue College, which helped them get their associate's degree. So I appreciate all of this combination because not every child follows a typical path, and having kids who don't like taking typical path, I appreciate this, and I appreciate that you're constantly looking at refining it. Thanks.
The next is the discussion of biliteracy. And I guess I'm going first, and I would like to just say, there's 2 different things going on here. And that thing where you come in and you speak a different language from your background, your family, whatever, and you get 4 high school credits, that is fantastic. That's really great. It's really great. Then I also worry a little bit about, I worry a lot about the kids who are studying world language and they're not fluent, and then they get this, because I think it's really hard to tell what standard they're actually achieving. And I think I made that point in more detail, but those are my 2 thoughts on this. It's like 2 different things going on. And I'm going to pass it to Director Rogan.
Thank you. I just was enamored with that piece of data that in 2023, students earned the seal of biliteracy in 56 different languages. It still is a little bit jaw-dropping for me. So in case the community, whoever is listening, wasn't aware of that, it's worth celebrating.
Okay.
So my questions were answered during the presentation, but I did want to take a second to mention, to talk with or speak to Mr. Anderson and just really celebrate the work that you're doing and the thoughtfulness that you're taking to kind of tackle the issue. And I'm just wondering if there's been any consideration to kind of making this more district-wide, like at other high schools, taking the same approach and kind of surveying our students of color to determine kind of what the barriers are moving forward. I think also I wanted to kind of say that, the messaging is important, but also kind of the culture of the school and the sense of belonging are other things that are, could be barriers to accessing or retaining those students. So just wanted to put that in this space as well. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to piggyback on that because the reason I asked the question, do our community know it? Does our students know what is the purpose of AP, IB? Is exactly that, is to see maybe they don't have clarity, they don't see the value, they don't understand it because our community has become so diverse from so many different countries that I wonder if this is something that we need to be a little bit more clear and direct in that message for our diverse community. And regarding our biliteracy, I just think that's phenomenal, 56 languages. And more importantly, the opportunity to give our students who already speak another language, have that credit, gives them confidence and move forward especially when they're coming into a new country. I think that's just impressive and kudos.
Okay, thank you. So now it's
a chance.
Wait, you're on the chart. Oh, I crossed you off already. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I really appreciate the information. I think that it is a great way to celebrate students who come from a lot of different backgrounds and for their achievements in high school. Want to remind, from Monday again, I think that the chart kind of showed that 0 students with IEPs had achieved biliteracy, and just want to highlight that as making sure we're understanding where there are opportunities and removing barriers again. I'm a little bit struck because, and I can give a little bit of my personal experience here. I'm not a great linguist. The last language class, formal language class I took was in high school. And I think that's the case for a lot of students. And I've seen in looking at colleges now, because I'm doing that with an 11th grader, there's an increasing trend where colleges and universities are dropping languages as majors. And that means it raises a couple of questions to me. You know, a lot of these students, this may be their last time taking these other languages in academic settings. And also, what are we preparing the students for as they move forward to university in continuing to push the languages? I think it's great. I think there are a lot of benefits to it, but I also think that there is a legitimate question there as far as, you know, the universities have, or some of the colleges and universities have started to pull back in this area specifically, and just understanding how that affects our students as they move from our system where we're supporting them very strongly in these areas to the next level of education where they might not find that same level of support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, who else have I forgotten? Okay, Dr. Aramaki.
Okay, some closing thoughts. We do have more information that we'll share with you kind of over the next few months and then in the end of year, including just some information about Running Start and things like that. We're looking into, I think, the issue around students with IEPs and getting the seal of biliteracy. So there's some things that we are going to work on, but I just wanted to mention a few things. We learned a term over the summer called cosmopolitan intellectuals. I think that's what it is. But it's basically, rather than viewing kids who come to the United States not speaking English as English language learners, we consider them cosmopolitan intellectuals. They come with incredible assets and strengths. And so it's a huge beliefs and philosophical shift to be able to take a student who doesn't speak English and then have them earn 8 credits in 2 different languages. I mean, it's such a remarkable thing. And I just want to say, like, this is where Bellevue is heading in how we view our children. The question about Dr. Anderson in his presentation, what I will say is every high school is tackling this issue of equitable access to college future readiness. And so some are looking at AP. I think Interlake's looking at IB, but all of the schools are looking at it. So this was just to be an example, but that's the power, I think, of giving the schools the opportunity of really diving deep into what the inequities are. We typically in Bellevue have measured success as graduation from high school, and we're always around 97, 98%. And so this is our attempt to expand our vision for academic and educational excellence in Bellevue. And so this gives us a good glimpse. Hopefully this gives us something to think about as we think about the next strategic plan, because we want kids to be able to excel in multiple different ways and know that that is not only acceptable, but valued in the Bellevue School District. I want to just say, Bellevue is a leader in advanced placement. I mean, we host a yearly AP Institute, and people come here from all over the country. I met somebody randomly in California who said, I've been to Bellevue 3 times for the AP Institute. And so what's great is we're a leader in the work, but we want to be a leader in equitable access to advanced placement. And so that's where it really matters. And I would say we have a lot of teachers who are doing that. There are a number of teachers who are very good at differentiating, making things accessible. I always hear people talk about Lorinda Flickema, who teaches AP Calculus, and how she'll take any student, no matter what their experience or strengths are, and we'll figure out a way to get them to be successful in advanced placement calculus. And so we have teachers who do it, and I think that is our goal, is that we have common language, common expectations about AP for all of our kids, and then how we support our students. The whole AP, IB, college and the high school, Running Start, I have a child who is a 10th grader, and I will say that I'm very confused about all the different opportunities and options. So when I see the little AP thing, and then I see the college and the high school, I really have no idea what to choose, or choose both, or whatever. And so we're about to launch a new website. And so one of the things that we can and will do, and I think we've done some of that already, but we want to make that information very accessible to families. And so that will be a goal for us for sure. And then is that all I wanted to really say? The other thing I'll just mention is we are interested in building out systemic systems to support our kids. And so that is a goal for us, to make sure that we have the systems in place on how we communicate, how we counsel kids, and then how we support kids who need support. So that is to come for us in Bellevue. That's it.
Okay, so that wraps up our discussion there. Oh, and we're kind of on time. Okay, so next we're going to go on to board business and the proposed revisions to policy 6970. We always rely on, John Harrison for this. There he is online. Wow, sorry to sort of drag you in for this then.
No, my pleasure.
Okay.
Are you ready for me?
Yeah, can we get the, like some kind of slide? Do we have, oh, we do. Okay, I'm just on, yeah, good.
So first of all, my apologies for not being there in person. I do miss seeing you all in person, but it is a pleasure and a privilege to be able to participate online. So the first policy that you have in front of you has proposed revisions to policy 6970, naming schools and facilities. And very quickly, for the record, I'll just give a little bit of background that this policy has been in place since the 12-13 school year, 2012-13 school year, and has not been revised since. And several times over the last decade, district staff has had to come to the board to ask for an exception to the policy because the current policy has a segment in there that says that if a name of a person living or deceased is proposed because of significant past or recent contributions to the school or portion of facility to be named, that person's direct connection with the district needs to be at least 5 years in the past. So that plus the fact that this policy WASDA defines as a discretional policy and the WASDA model does not include any language around what I've referred to as the 5-year moratorium. So the primary driver for changing this policy was to bring it more in line with our current practice. So what I will do for you tonight is just indicate to you the changes and for the public listening that have been made since first reading, as well as the changes that were made since your feedback on Monday. So George, if you could scroll down to, there we go, to line 20, sorry, line 21. Line 21, there used to say a school facility or portion of a school or facility may be named after persons. So that was grammatically incorrect. So that highlighting green is a change since you saw it on Monday, and I just replaced persons with people. The change highlighted in yellow was made since first reading. And it used to basically say for significant or past contributions. And I've added a couple of additional words, namely service and impact. So now a school facility or portion of a school or facility may be named after people for significant past or recent service, contributions, or impact on the school or the portion of the facility to be named. And the reason primarily for this was to mitigate any confusion that people may have that we are talking about exclusively a financial contribution. What we're really talking about here is impact, service, and that kind of thing. And if you scroll up, George, I just want to highlight one line above, right there. Thank you. Line 14, I think, is a powerful line. And that was added, that was a suggestion from you after first reading, and that is any naming actions shall be conducive to an inclusive history and shall not detract from the school's school district's mission, integrity, or reputation. If you could scroll down, George, I'll just highlight the last couple of changes here. Line 25 was missing a word. And that word was also just to make it clear that a building or a portion of a building could be named, but also alternatively, a person's service contributions or impact could be recognized with a plaque. Final change is line 29, where we referenced the critical criteria in procedure 0130P, our equity and accountability policy and procedure. Dr. Aramaki made the suggestion that we simply refer to the process as outlined in procedure 0130P, and that will be used as the guide for community engagement because we anticipate potential changes to that procedure. So those are the changes since you last saw this on Monday. And again, this is the fourth time you've seen this. This is second reading, and my recommendation is that you adopt the revisions as presented.
Okay, so first to comment will be Director Rogan.
And I've only seen it 3 times, and I feel like I've got it. Thank you, John, for your thorough reporting.
I'll just say, are we commenting?
Yeah.
So I just want to say that I'm really thankful for the robust conversations that we've had about this over time, and also the add of the equity and accountability portion here, procedure that's outlined here. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I think it looks good.
Yeah, I want to celebrate that. I feel like this is a process working. It came
Yeah.
forward for evaluation for one thing, and we found a couple others, and I think we all agree that it's an improvement.
And I want to say, I think I got all the changes I wanted, or maybe the things I wanted, the inventory, and that we're not going to be naming it after people we shouldn't be naming it after, and the plaque and all those things. So I think I'll just sum up by saying, I think Odell and Stevenson were educators in the district, and I think Mr. Bennett owned the land under Bennett. Whether he was an artist, but I'm not sure he was an educator. So anyway, that can go in our inventory when we start it. And with that said, I think that's everybody, right? So let me ask for a motion to approve policy 6970.
I move to approve policy 6970.
And who would like to second it?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of this policy? Say aye.
Aye.
I think that was everybody. No nays or abstentions. Okay, policy is now approved. So now we can move on to policy.
5001. So thank you for 6970. Much appreciated. That policy, although it's not used often, is a super important policy for obvious reasons. So thank you for your feedback on that one. This one is a little technical. This is also one of our original policies from 2012-13 that has not been revised. And what happened along the way in 2016, the WASDA model policy was updated to include the rules that applied to retired employees and the obligations, what they were allowed to do as as potentially rehired after retirement employees, and the district's kind of obligations with respect to hiring potentially retired people into positions. So what was changed from the current policy, if you look at beginning with line 7 where it says TRS Plan 1 retirees, that's the teachers retirement system. If you scroll down, you see more about the teachers retirement system plans 1, 2, and 3. But if you keep on scrolling, you see the school employees plan 2 and 3 obligations. And if you keep on scrolling, you see the state employees rules and responsibilities around what they can and cannot do if they're retired, if they're retired staff. And then beginning with line 67, the district's responsibilities have remained the same, so that there's no changes there. So again, the change was that technical language that's legally required that needs to be in the policy. And then on this one, there are no changes since first reading. There were no changes as a result of Monday. So this one is as it was in first reading. And just before I ask for your adoption of the revisions as proposed, I do want to reference that Director Aris asked after first reading that we seek feedback from our engagement specialist for BIPOC educators with concerns around our staff of color and potential kind of impact of this policy. Dr. Thomas did seek that feedback. Feedback was excellent feedback, and we're going to incorporate that feedback in our hiring and our interview processes. But there was nothing that's kind of procedural in nature. There was nothing that we felt would precipitate a change to the policy as revised. So my recommendation is that you adopt the revisions as presented tonight.
Okay. You know what? I think this time we should do this formally. I was thinking, should we make the motion and the second and then have the discussion instead of having the discussion and then making the motion and doing the second? So shall we do that? Would somebody like to make the motion?
I move that we consider adoption of policy 5001.
Second.
All right, thank you. So now we're going to have the discussion, and the person to lead the discussion is Director Webster.
I just want to say that I'm really appreciative to Director Aris for bringing up the possibility of inadvertent disproportionality or consequences that could result by inadvertently affecting our BIPOC educators. So I'm really grateful that you brought that up, and thank you, Dr. Thomas, for your work. And that's all that I have. Yeah.
Okay, Director Aris.
Thank you for doing the research and asking our staff to see if there are anything. It's always good to hear from the staff who are on the ground to make sure that we're listening to them and making sure we're being thoughtful in this process. I'm curious to know, my understanding it's not going to be in the procedure, but it will be in the hiring process. I hope that that will be reflected and looked at by the BIPOC staff that is working with you. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Director Block.
Yeah, I think we discussed earlier that a lot of this seems to be driven by state law, and really appreciate the time and thoughtfulness in going into this. It strikes me, I think I heard that it's somewhere between 0.5% and 1%, or maybe closer to 0.5% of employees in the district fall in this category. Yeah, six total, something like that. I really think this is, we would love to have retirees, particularly when we have shortages, like in buses and substitute teachers. I want to make that point. We would love anyone who wants to work in those roles, regardless of your prior work status. Yes. I think the point I made during the Monday meeting also probably fits in with procedure and process, is just ensuring that these positions, when they do come up for recycle, that there is an open advertisement opportunity, and that younger staff realize that they have the opportunity to pursue those positions, even if the incumbent is reapplying. Thank you.
Okay, and then I think I don't have anything beyond what you all said already, that a lot of this falls from the state. I'm glad we considered the equity consequences, and that's it for me.
Same, I agree with you, President Watson. Feels like everything's been covered. Thank you.
Okay, so now Would all those in favor of approving this policy say aye?
Aye.
Aye. I didn't hear any nays. Okay, it's approved.
Director Watson, can I just say one thing before I turn it back to you? I appreciate Director Block referencing this process as working. It's been an evolution and a process, and I'm pretty pleased with it. So I agree with you, Director Block, and I appreciate the comment. And if people out there are interested in where's this process written down, it's procedure 0200P, if you're interested. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you. All right, well, now we have director discussion, and believe it or not, we have between now and 6:30 scheduled. That's amazing. And the person who will start with the first section of director discussion is Director Aris.
All right. Well, let's see, a little update. I have to say, this past week, I had the privilege of observing the performance at Jingmei twice, both nights. The first night was good, or first day was good, so I went the second time. I am so impressed with our staff and their enthusiasm and our students embracing the language and also the arts that goes with it. I also had a chance to go to, what was it? Oh, Spirit Ridge and their evening event of, it's a talent show. And I have to say that their effort of building their community and also embracing just the fun and the joy was just a pleasure. Kids being encouraged to, at the last minute, jump in the front and dance and sing or lip sync their heart out. And the crowd just really celebrating that. And it's nice to see our community working so hard to rebuild and showcase and share the joys that our kids are going through. So when I saw that there was one on Holy at Ardmore, I was like, oh, I wanted to go. Oh, that would have been fun one to go to. I kind of would like to put it, ask out there, when there are celebrations at schools, I would love for the board directors to be informed so we could see what that looks like and feels like and be part of that celebration and say that we recognize that. And I think it's like one way we could do that as in this position. Thanks. Oh, everybody should go to the robotics competition. I have to, as a mentor, I have to say I'm always impressed with all the students that are part of that, and just there's the complexity, and yet is so intense, and the energy is just so positive. If you have a chance, go observe principals, vice principals, go check it out, see how you can bring that into your school. Thanks.
Thanks. I want to celebrate, and I think all of us would celebrate the visit to Phantom Lake Elementary. That was a great opportunity. It was clear that the staff had put a lot of effort and time into preparing for that, and the principal had, and we really appreciated that. And that one of the key points that was highlighted there was transportation safety. That was brought up by parents, it was brought up by teachers, and it was brought up by students. It was unfortunate to hear the next day that a student had been hit, not there, but at a different campus, or later that week. I can't remember, it was the next day or 2 days later. I know that that's something we've discussed as a board and with Director Aramaki, and we look forward to trying to identify strategies to help encourage safe driving around our schools and make sure that we can restore some of that safety, so our students can always feel safe walking, biking, and traveling to our schools. Dr. Aramaki stole some of my thunder by showing the Sustainability Committee. It continues to be great to see the student voice participating in that. Also want to highlight that we're always working to think about how to work with the legislature and not just at the state level, but the city, the state, and the federal governments, and ways to bring funding to our schools and improve policies that support our schools. And then I'll close by reminding that, I don't know, we might have one more meeting before it, but the Bellevue Schools Foundation, this is their big fundraiser event on the 30th, the Spring for Schools at the Maidenbauer Center. I think it runs from 5 to 8 p.m. There are going to be hors d'oeuvres. It's going to be a great event. They're really excited to put that on, and I hope that we'll see hundreds, if not 1,000 people there. So it'd be great to see as many people as can come out and join the celebration. There are going to be some student performances. There are going to be some displays of things that the foundation's been investing in, and there's going to be some, it's been described as heavy hors d'oeuvres, so not quite dinner, but there's some food available, and I hope everybody will come out and have a great time. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So now it's my turn, and yeah, I want to say I watched the update and I feel like, oh, I missed this, I missed that. Now, some of them I knew I was missing because I had conflicts with the Jingmei, which I would have loved to have been at, and then another few things I didn't know about. So I'm wondering, maybe we can ask the administration to send us stuff, but maybe we can also share around as board members if we know about things, so that we can all go and we can stand far from each other so that we don't violate OPMA, so we don't give the appearance of like, discussing business, which we won't be at these events. We'll just be enjoying them. So that's the first thing. And the second thing I was going to say, I'm starting, I'm giving thought to how we structure our work and so forth. And I think some of you have heard me talk about how I want to go through I think there's 6 things that WASDA calls out as the responsibility of the board. And one of the things is, we have this oversight role. And so that brings me, today I'm thinking about reports. Like we had this report and we have a chart that John Harrison has kept online that we either have it or we'll send it around or something that, shows the different reports that pertain to the various areas of the annual plan, and the one that we just had tonight is one of those. But I'm thinking this is the time we can get really crisp about how we're doing this and how we're performing our oversight role. So we have to keep it in mind not to lose these thoughts, right? Because this goes into our oversight. So there's like, what, 12 of them or something? We have to kind of figure out how we're going to use that in our oversight role. And so I'm challenging everybody can you think of like 1 or 2 sentences you want to say about everything that was said tonight in terms of what are the successes and what are the challenges? And then we've got to do that for every report going forward. So I'm thinking maybe we should get a repository and put them all in one place so that when you are thinking about it, you can kind of just click through. That'd be good. I mean, it's in Board Docs, but Board Docs search function doesn't work. And when I asked them at the convention if they were planning on fixing it, they said, no, pay us more money and upgrade to some other product that we have. So I'm now going to pass it on to Director Rogan.
Thank you. I want to reiterate that Phantom Lake school visit. Oh my gosh, there was something about that school's sense of belonging. It was just deep. From the kids to the staff to the parents to the administrative team, and to be in there in the library and hearing the kids coming in like a thunder. They were so excited, not out of control, but just so excited to be in the building. And everybody was, yeah, that's who we are. That's who these kids are. They love to be at the school. It was heartening to see that much joy of learning. And I have to say, being at Jingmei, I was with Jane on day 1. Those pre-K kids, I don't know if it can get cuter or sweeter than that, but they were so brave in being out there in front of everybody. And then, when they're on stage and they see their mom or dad in the audience, and it's like all over, you need to grab tissue. It's too cute. But really, even up to the 5th graders with their fan dancing and the Tai Chi, it was just so much talent, so much joy in celebrating that Lunar New Year. So it was sight to see. I'm excited about the liaison little update I can provide. I had a great walk and talk with Emily Castle of the Bellevue PTSA Council. She's the president. We were going to meet for coffee at the Bellevue Botanical Gardens, and Mondays they're closed.
Oh, no.
But we had a great walk. We got about 5,000 steps in. So we had a beautiful walk and talk through the gardens, which made me think, if ever we have a one-on-one, that's what we should do this spring. Just walk around the gardens.
Remind me, I gotta put different shoes on.
Okay. Yeah, not your soaked Florsheim's from preschool. And then I'll be meeting with Randy Eng, the executive director from Jubilee, in a week. So it's coming along.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's pass the baton down to Director Webster.
Oh, it's interesting. I had Phantom Lake on my list too. My son went there for pre-K, and I just really love that school. And it's just really nice to see that they maintain the culture and the inclusiveness there. And it seems that everybody just loves that school. So I just really enjoyed being there. So a couple of things. Had a chance to meet with Betsy, who's the CEO of Rainer Athletes, who I'm liaisoning for this upcoming year. And yeah, I really had a great conversation with her, and we just talked a little bit about partnership opportunities and just the great work that Rainer Athletes is doing. And my first official board meeting will be on the 27th, so I'm really looking forward to meeting all the other board members there. I know that we mentioned it last time, but Jane and I are going to be going away to the national conference in a couple of weeks, so we'll be gone for that, and really looking forward to learning there. I also participated in 2 DACs so far. Yeah. And I just have to say, I'm just really impressed by the organization of the materials and the facilitations by Erin and Heather. It just seemed to be well put together, well organized, and I'm just really grateful for all their efforts. It's a lot of material to go through, and I can't imagine like putting everything in order for us. So I'm just really grateful for that opportunity. And then the last thing I wanted to share was, and I'm sorry that the kids aren't here, but I hope that somebody can pass this along to the robotics kids that presented today and said that they were going to be going to DC to advocate. I would love to hear back kind of what they learned there. So I don't know if there's an opportunity for them to come back and share their learnings from that experience, but I would love to hear.
Well, I'm mentoring them, so I'll let you know, because I took them last year and it was phenomenal. I have to say our students went to SASA last year. I think they were hoping to learn a ton, and they walked away feeling, we know most of this stuff because they've been practicing it. And so what it did was it helped build that confidence of what they were doing. They're in the right path. And so, but they're passing the baton to the young people who are here that they will be going. And so they're looking forward to it. We're taking more students. And so, it's awesome because they're trying to be equitable to make sure that every student could go. It's if they're interested in this space. But I really want to kind of go back to the safety thing. Phil mentioned before about, we used to do this thing called Walk to School Week. And I remember that when he mentioned that, I was like, yes, we used to do this. And I wonder if that's something we could consider doing. I know we're, far into the school year, but maybe pick a week where we encourage all the schools to really walk to school if possible. And maybe talk with our police and to make sure they're out and creating some safe space. The reason is because I do think people are still suffering from COVID, and they're a little bit lethargic in their old behavior versus current behavior, and this may kind of help, get back into the groove of what we used to be like around schools. And also, I meant to address, I did attend Youth Link. I have to say, we have some amazing students who are like ready to like solve the world. And they asked a lot of great questions about the district and current situation, including the deficit, and how can they be part of the solution? And they had lots of great ideas, including tutorials, providing, offering tutorials to schools. And the question was asked, for those who don't have children but want to help the district, how can they help? Which made me think of, do we have a volunteering list on our website where people who don't have or want to volunteer, maybe their kids are done or their kids are not quite in school yet, but they want to get into the mode of being part of our community, the ways that they could do that.
Okay, let's take a second and see if any of the other directors want to add something. Okay, so now I think we are done. But we're done for now. We're going into executive session after this. And so I want to make a comment before we go into executive session, which is, please bring your computers and have it fired up, because I was not able to print all the multiple pages of documents that I sent you for this executive session. So perhaps we can use the computers. All right. And we're on break, and we will be back in an executive session from 6:45 till 8. And we expect that we would adjourn for sure around 8. Oh, and the
purposes for that executive session include to hear a complaint regarding a public employee, to discuss the qualifications of a public employee, and to have, after the executive session, we are going to, potentially to discuss the sale and purchase of land.
Oh, gosh.
No? Never mind. So after that, there is potential for a closed session, though that will depend on how far you guys get with the executive session.
Oh my, there's more than I expected. All right, thank you. We're now recessing.
The Board of Directors has extended its executive session related specifically to the topic of evaluating a public employee. The board has extended the executive session to run until 9 p.m. The Board of Directors of the Bellevue School District has extended its executive session, which is on the topic of evaluating a public employee, for an additional hour. The board anticipates concluding its executive session at 10 p.m.
We are extending the executive session until 10:30. We're extending the executive session until 10:30.
The executive session was completed at 10:40 p.m. The regular board meeting is now adjourned.